Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. You know, I'm going to steal this knife. While I'm at it, I may just as well give the store I'm stealing from all my info about me. I'll get away scot-free. Yeah, guys, the first story's going to be crazy. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Don't steal from a place you just applied to work at. Let me preface this story. I'm a loss prevention agent and have been so for only 3 years. I work for a security company that's contracted with a hardware store chain. My entire job is mostly sitting in a room watching cameras and looking for someone who might steal. Almost every encounter I've ever had wasn't anything special. I've caught people stealing minor things worth 70 cents up to people stealing over $6,000, which is way over what a felony is. However, today is probably the funniest thing, at least to me, I've ever dealt with. So there I was, just watching cameras, waiting for the last half hour of my shift to pass by. It's a very boring job, but sometimes can result in weeks without stopping anyone. I was watching this young couple who were looking at a knife. The male, let's call him the prospective employee, began to bend the package to get the knife out of it. Eventually he does and tosses the empty package on a shelf and then pockets the knife. I continue to follow them, but they head over to the desk with the managers and HR said. This genius decided after stealing that, hell, he might want to work at this store, so he began filling out a job application. While he did that, I grabbed the package from the store and I then continued to watch him until he left. We wait for people to actually be out of the doors, that way they can't say they meant to pay for it. At that point, they're past last point of sale. I run up to them and introduce myself as store security. I show PE the empty package of the knife and tell him and his girlfriend to come back in the store. PE walks towards the doors, then immediately runs away, leaving his girlfriend standing there to deal with me. I shouted to him that I was just going to grab his job application, but he kept on running. I turned to the girlfriend and told her to get inside. I lead the girlfriend, let's call her prospective employee's girlfriend, Peg, and placed her in our holding room and called the police. At this point, Peg is crying because she's thinking that she's getting arrested. The police arrive and grab her info, and I give them a copy of PE's application. Peg happened to be a minor, but PE had just turned 18 yesterday. I eventually let Peg go after the police talked to her and her dad. The police instructed Peg to tell PE that he should turn himself in because he doesn't want the police getting a warrant for his arrest. Here's the kicker to the whole story. I wasn't even going to call the police on him. The value of the product was too low to merit that, but since he ran, he got himself a court date, a minor record, and a trespass notice. So if he ever comes back to any of our store's locations, he'll be arrested for criminal trespassing. Typically, I assume someone's an idiot if they steal, but to steal and then fill out a job application is a special kind of stupid. And then to run away from security. Well, he might as well have just given me his ID before he ran. Thanks to that genius, I got 2 hours of overtime, a court day next month, and gave me and a bunch of employees a lot of laughs. And our second story. I waited 2 years for this revenge, and it was awesome. Backstory. 2 years ago, my husband, then boyfriend, and I attended the wedding of 2 of his friends, Matt and Victoria. There was an open bar and everyone got merrily drunk. Lucas and I left the reception to go to the house at which we were staying for the night. After we get there, we get a call from Lucas's friend, Caitlin. She's in tears, and her boyfriend, Brian, can be heard yelling in the background. Caitlin tearfully accuses Lucas of stealing $4,000 out of Brian's car and begs him to return the money. All the while, Brian can be heard in the background threatening Lucas. Lucas tells her, truthfully, that he stayed with me at the reception the whole time, didn't break into Brian's car, and certainly didn't steal Brian's money. Caitlin continues that they know he did it, and if he'll just return it, they'll let the matter drop. How do they know it was him, you may ask? They found a white pocket knife on the seat of the car, and Lucas is known for always carrying a pocket knife. He had a blue one that evening to coordinate with my green dress. Yes, I picked it. Lucas hangs up on her, and we don't hear from him for the rest of the night. The next morning, Caitlin, not Brian, calls and apologizes. They had gotten home and found the money on his dresser. He hadn't even brought it to the wedding, and he didn't have the balls to apologize himself. Fine, whatever. We let the matter drop, but being a petty and vengeful bee, I have never forgotten that evening. So that's our backstory. Fast forward to this year, and Caitlin and Brian get married in Jamaica. We were invited but declined, and their stateside wedding reception's this weekend. As a side note, she included where they were registered on the invitation itself, which I thought was tacky AF. Lucas can attend the reception, which is out of town, but I'm stuck in our hometown because of work. I'm put in charge of purchasing the happy couple a wedding gift. I've been waiting for this moment for 2 years. What, you may ask, did I purchase them? That's right, everyone, a white pocket knife. But wait, there's more. Included with their gift is a wedding card containing $4,000 in Monopoly money and signed, "Just in case you lose yours again, here's an extra. Best of luck and all our love, Lucas and Kimberly." The best part? Lucas is usually a take the high road, Kimberly, don't stoop to their level, Kimberly type of person. He was totally on board with this whole plan and told me not to even bother getting them anything from their registry. I love that man. Y'all, I'm not expecting a thank you card, but holy God, did that feel good. I've been reveling in this all day. This crap is practically a sport in my family, and I think I've won the game this year. Edit. We invited them to our wedding in between these incidences, and they RSVP'd yes. The day before our wedding, after we'd given the caterer a final head count for the plated dinner, they called and said they weren't coming and something had come up. Edit. For those of you accusing me of doing this on her wedding day, y'all weren't listening. They got married in Jamaica earlier in the year, January for Christ's sake. Even I'm not that much of a bee. This was for their stateside reception. And anyway, who the hell opens their wedding gifts the night of their reception? Or wedding for that matter. And our last story. Neighbors/tenants cutting down my magnolia trees without my consent. I inherited this house and surrounding property from my great-grandparents when they passed away. This includes 2 rental properties which my great-grandfather had been renting out for years to 2 families. Relations between the 3 families had always been cordial, even when my great-grandparents passed a few years ago and I became the new landlord, though the dads of both families are only a little younger than my grandfather, and I get the impression from our interactions they chafe a little bit that their new landlord is a woman in her late 20s. But I figured everything is fine because I've never raised the rent beyond what my great-grandfather set it at. And I always have professionals over to deal with any issues on the homes within 24 hours of receiving a call from them. About 3 years ago, a local kid was messing around in my magnolia trees and broke his leg. My homeowner's insurance paid the settlement to the kid's family, but just to be on the safe side, I had a surveyor come out and mark the property line for my lot. They also used the word plat, but I'll be honest, this isn't my area of expertise, versus the lots of the 2 rental houses, and then had a contractor come out and put a white PVC fence at the property line just to ward off a repeat incident. Like some kind of fairy tale, the kids of the families that rent from me fell in love and have decided to get married. They wanted to have a block party, and the bride's father asked if I'd be okay with them decorating on my property as well, since it's part of the block. I admit I took decorating to mean things like hanging lights or other traditional wedding decorations, so I gave my consent. This morning I woke up to the sound of chainsaws and went outside to discover the parents of the bride and groom were cutting down my magnolia trees. Each tree is about 80 years old. This house was purchased as a wedding present for my great-grandmother, and they planted magnolias there when they got married. If my great-grandmother had lived, she'd be turning 100 next year, because they didn't match the bride's aesthetic vision. I told them to stop immediately. I didn't give them permission for that, and I was going to call the police. They stopped, but when I went inside to grab my cell phone, they started up again. When I confronted them, I was basically told that since they're my tenants, I'd just be suing myself, so I could suck it up, Buttercup. I admit I was more than a little intimidated by a group of men with chainsaws. I went back in my house while they continued cutting and called the police, who came out and told them to stop and gave them tickets, but they started up again once the police were gone. I called the police again and they haven't come back out yet. I've also already called an arborist friend of mine, I'm a florist, to come out and do an assessment immediately. I called my insurance company as well, and they're going to have someone call me back. Needless to say, no one's getting their lease renewed, even though they've lived here for decades. Sorry if this is rambly, the trees hold a lot of sentimental value to my family and I, so this is very emotionally draining. Update. I conferred with an attorney regarding evicting them, and 4 days later, both families were served with 7-day eviction notices. As expected, they blew up and started throwing rocks at my house, slinging more racial epithets in my direction. I never realized how unbelievably pathetic they actually are until I watched them crying like babies while being hauled off by the police on the video cameras. The bride made a very angry post on Facebook, followed up by standing up in a church, small town, most of us go to the same church, during prayers and concerns to beg for prayers for her family because our landlord is evicting all of us because she's jealous that I'm getting married. The pastor, feigning innocence, said, "I thought she was evicting you all because your father and groom's father cut down my great-grandmother's prize magnolias." Hardest game of you laugh, you lose I've ever played. Still proud I survived. According to the arborists, yes, plural, though my friend came out and did an assessment, my attorney for the suit over the trees advised selecting someone who isn't so close to me for the paperwork we'll submit to the court. Based on the number of trees cut down and the number of trees damaged beyond repair and how old and well-tended those trees were, the value of the trees alone is more than I could sell all 3 houses for in the current housing market around here. Then the attorney started talking about how the damages are multiplied, and let's just say I would be quite happy with half that number. But I know when to zip my lip, so I let my attorneys handle the negotiating. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.